Silence filled the great chamber of the Galactic Council, a silence so deep that even the faint hum of air systems felt loud. The blue lights flickered on the curved walls, and the giant holographic vote counter glowed in the air. 5 votes for yes. Only 1 for no. Ambassador Claire Hoffman stared at the floating numbers, her stomach twisting as the meaning sank in. 30 years. 30 long years of diplomacy, of endless meetings, of swallowing insults and pretending not to notice the sneers. Humanity had worked hard to prove itself civilized among the stars, and now, with one decision, all of it was being taken away. At the center podium, Primus Tal, the tall and proud Rathani leader, rose from his seat. His smooth gray skin reflected the blue light as he spoke, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The matter is settled," he said coldly. "The human colony worlds will be placed under Concord protection." He smiled, a small sharp smile that never reached his eyes. For their own safety, of course. Claire's hands tightened around the edge of her desk. Protection, she thought bitterly. They mean control. She stood slowly, forcing her voice to stay calm. "Protection?" she repeated. "You mean occupation." The chamber stirred. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward her, some pitying, most indifferent. Among them were the Morvani, massive insectoid beings with dark glassy faces. One of them, High Commander Quinn, leaned forward with a deep, buzzing laugh. "Ambassador," he said, "your species has proven again and again that you cannot govern yourselves. You come from a death world. Violence is in your nature. The Concord cannot allow such instability to threaten civilized space." Murmurs of agreement spread around the room. Claire felt her chest tighten, but she did not look away. "We have never threatened anyone," she said quietly. "Every war we fought was to defend ourselves." Primus Tal lifted one long arm and the whispers died instantly. "The human tendency for violence is well known. Even now, you maintain fleets far larger than required for defense. You are unpredictable, dangerous." Claire took a deep breath. "We had to defend ourselves because your Concord blocked our trade, denied us technology, and treated us like criminals. You fear us not because we are violent, but because we refuse to kneel." A few delegates shifted uneasily. One of them, a young Rathani named Lurik, avoided her gaze, shame flickering across his face. Not all agreed with Tal, Claire noticed. But not enough disagreed to stop him. "Perhaps we are being unfair," said Councillor Bren of the gentle Tathi species. His soft, echoing voice filled the air. "Humans have followed every rule we gave them. This vote feels less like protection and more like conquest." "Your objection is noted," Tal said sharply. "But the vote is final." Claire's jaw tightened. "Then you leave us no choice." She reached for her datapad, her heart pounding. Her government had prepared a statement for this very moment, though she had prayed she'd never need it. "The United Government of Earth," she began, her voice clear and strong, "rejects the authority of the Galactic Concord to impose control over our sovereign colonies. We reject the idea that we are less capable of self-rule. And we reject the belief that our nature makes us unworthy of respect." The entire hall went silent. Even Primus Tal looked stunned for a heartbeat before his cold smile returned. "You would defy the Concord?" "We will defend our freedom," Claire said. "Just as your people once did. Or have you forgotten that the Rathani fought for independence 2 centuries ago?" Tal's expression hardened. "Be careful, Ambassador. Your defiance will not end well." From the Morvani side, Quinn rose from his seat, a heavy, threatening movement. "You dare compare yourselves to us? You primitives, who only discovered faster-than-light travel by accident. You Deathworlders, who think strength means destruction." Claire met his gaze steadily. "Strength means survival. We learned it on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. You call us Deathworlders like it's an insult. We call it a badge of honor." The hall erupted in murmurs and laughter again, but she didn't care. She gathered her papers, her movements calm and deliberate. "Earth's answer is no," she said finally. "We will not surrender our colonies. We will not submit to your authority. And if you attempt to enforce this vote by force," she paused, letting her words sink in, "we will respond accordingly." Tal's smile faded completely. "That would be unwise, Ambassador. The Concord fleet numbers in the thousands. Your entire species has fewer than 300 warships. This is not a fight you can win." "Perhaps not," Claire said quietly. "But it's one we will have." She turned and walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed through the vast hall as the delegates broke into whispers. Some mocked her. Some watched in silence. But none stopped her. The doors slid shut behind her with a hiss. And then, faintly, the sound began. A low, distant alarm. It wasn't coming from the council chamber. It was coming from far away, transmitted through emergency channels. Claire froze as her communicator vibrated. A voice spoke softly, "Ambassador, this is Fleet Command. We're detecting Concord ships entering Sol's border." Her breath caught. It had begun. The faint echo of sirens and warning tones filled the silence once more. This time not in the council chamber but across Earth itself. The war had started. And for the first time in history, the galaxy would learn what it truly meant to anger the Deathworlders. The skies above Earth were calm, too calm. From orbit, the blue planet turned slowly beneath the glass of the UN command station Atlas. Fleets of human ships glimmered in sunlight, their hulls marked with the emblem of the United Government of Earth. They were small compared to the Concord armadas, but every one of them was built to fight, not to show. Inside the command chamber, alarms pulsed in a dull red rhythm. Officers stood before holographic maps that showed dozens of red dots at the edge of the Sol system, Concord ships, crossing the border without permission. Ambassador Claire Hoffman stepped inside, still in her formal uniform from the council meeting. Her face was pale but steady. The room went quiet as Admiral Marcus Reyes, commander of the Earth Defense Fleet, turned to her. "So," he said grimly, "it's begun." Claire nodded. They didn't even wait for diplomacy to end. On the screen behind them, words flashed in harsh red letters. "Unauthorized incursion detected. Multiple hostile signatures." Reyes crossed his arms. 30 ships. A Concord task force. They're saying it's peacekeeping, but they're heading straight for New Geneva. His voice hardened. "That's not peacekeeping. That's occupation." Claire looked out through the viewport, where the curve of Earth glowed beneath the stars. "For 30 years we tried to prove ourselves. We followed every law, every treaty. And still they treat us like animals." Reyes gave a small, bitter laugh. "Animals bite back, Ambassador." She didn't smile, but her eyes flickered with something cold, something determined. "Then maybe it's time we remind them what happens when you corner a species that learned survival the hard way." The Admiral turned to his officers. "Begin Operation Resolve." At once the room came alive. Commands echoed through comm channels. Across Earth's orbit, ships powered up their drives. Deep space stations switched to military channels. The peaceful blue of Earth's sky was now filled with activity. Satellites adjusting orbits, carriers leaving dock, patrol fleets forming into attack lines. Down on Earth, in the underground war bunker beneath Geneva, world leaders met around a long steel table. The faces were tense, tired, afraid, angry. The Prime Minister of the European Union spoke first. "If we resist, they will attack our colonies. We can't protect all of them." Reyes's voice came through the screen from orbit. "We don't need to protect all of them. We just need to make the first strike hurt. Make them think twice." Claire leaned forward. "If we surrender, we lose everything. If we fight, we might lose everything. But at least we'll lose it our way." The room fell silent. For a moment, all anyone could hear was the distant hum of the bunker's generators. Finally, the President of Earth spoke softly. "Then we fight." Hours later, in the dark of orbit, the UNS Valiant, humanity's flagship, hung ready. The stars around it looked colder than usual, as if the universe itself were holding its breath. Claire stood alone in the comms chamber, recording her final diplomatic message. The camera light blinked red. "This is Ambassador Claire Hoffman of Earth," she began. Her voice was calm, clear, and steady. "To the Galactic Concord Council. Your fleet has entered human space without consent. You claim to protect us, but what you call protection we call invasion." She paused, looking straight into the lens. "You call us Deathworlders, violent, dangerous, unfit for peace. Maybe you're right. But remember this, on our world, everything that ever lived tried to kill us, and we're still here. If you cross into our skies, you will not find peace. You will find resistance." She ended the transmission and exhaled slowly. "Send it," she said. The signal went out, spreading across relays, bouncing through satellites, reaching alien receivers all the way to the Council's core worlds. In the darkness of space, the first confrontation began. The Concord fleet appeared near New Geneva, a small colony world glowing with city lights and farms. Its people watched the night sky as alien ships descended like silent shadows. The aliens expected surrender. Instead, they found human defenses already powered and locked. The Concord commander opened a channel. His voice was smooth and mocking. "This is Commander Quinn of the Concord fleet. Stand down, Deathworlders. You are under protection of the Concord. Do not resist." A calm reply came from the colony's defense ship, UNS Resolute. "Commander Quinn," the captain said, "you are trespassing in human territory. Withdraw your forces immediately." Quinn laughed, a deep, distorted sound. "Or what, human? You think your little guns can stop the Concorde?" The captain's voice did not waver. "Let's find out." For one long moment nothing moved. The stars were quiet. Then the human ship fired. A blinding white plasma beam cut through the void and struck the lead Concorde cruiser. The explosion lit the colony skies brighter than daylight. Alarms screamed across both fleets as chaos erupted. Alien ships returned fire, but the humans were ready, fast, precise, brutal. The Resolute weaved between enemy blasts, counterattacking with missiles that tracked heat signatures. The alien fleet, trained for slow, organized warfare, couldn't match the sudden, aggressive tactics. In less than 20 minutes, the Concorde task force broke formation. 2 ships destroyed. 4 damaged. The survivors fled, their retreat marked by burning wrecks drifting among the stars. The people of New Geneva watched in silence. They had just witnessed humanity's first victory in a war no one wanted, but everyone knew was coming. Back on the command station, Admiral Reyes received the report. First contact confirmed. Enemy retreating. Minimal human losses. He turned to Claire. "They won't stop now. You know that." She nodded. "No. They'll come with everything they have." Reyes stared at the tactical map, where more red signals appeared on the edge of human space. "Then we'll meet them with everything we have." The Admiral gave a grim smile. "They called us Deathworlders. Let's show them what that means." In the far reaches of the galaxy, inside the Grand Hall of the Concorde, Primus Tal listened to the same report. His expression dark and furious. "The humans attacked first?" one of his aides said in disbelief. "No," Tal replied quietly, his eyes cold as glass. "The humans answered." He stood slowly, his robes whispering across the floor. "Prepare the full fleet. If Earth wants war," he paused, his voice turning to ice, "then they shall have war." The chamber lights dimmed. Outside, thousands of alien warships began to move. Suspense cue for video ending. Cut to black. The sound of distant engines fills the silence. Then a soft female voice, Claire's, echoes one last time. "They wanted to protect us. Now they'll need protection, from us." The stars burned cold above New Geneva, a human colony that had known peace for 20 years. Now its skies were filled with smoke and fire. Wreckage from the first battle drifted silently, glowing faintly in the sunlight. Half of the alien task force was gone. The other half limped away, engines damaged, pride shattered. On the colony's surface, crowds stood under the open sky, staring upward. Some cheered. Others cried. For the first time humanity had fought the Concorde, and won. Scene 1, the aftermath. In orbit, the human defense ship UNS Resolute circled the planet like a wounded predator. Its hull was scorched but still intact. Inside, Captain Ryankova stood before his crew, his face streaked with sweat and ash. "Status?" he asked. "Shields at 40%. Engines stable," replied the lieutenant. "We've lost 6 fighters. But the colony's safe." Kova exhaled slowly. He looked out at the broken enemy ships drifting in silence. "They came thinking we'd surrender," he said. "They didn't expect us to fight like devils." Another officer muttered, "They called us Deathworlders. Guess now they understand what that means." Kova gave a thin smile. "This is just the beginning. Send all data to Earth Command. They'll need to see what happened here." The message left the ship in a tight beam transmission, racing toward Earth at light speed. Scene 2, the message reaches Earth. At the UN command station Atlas, Admiral Reyes and Ambassador Claire Hoffman watched the battle recording in silence. The hologram showed the first Concorde cruiser exploding under human fire, then the chaos that followed. Claire's hands trembled slightly as she watched the alien fleet retreat. "They'll never forgive this," she said softly. "Their pride won't allow it." Reyes didn't look away from the screen. "Good," he said. "Let them come. We'll be ready." He turned to his strategy officers. "Activate Phase 2 of Operation Resolve. Fortify Mars. Move the lunar defense grid into position. And contact our allies on the fringe colonies. Every ship counts." The officer saluted and ran to his console. Claire spoke quietly, almost to herself. "They started this with arrogance. They thought we'd kneel." Her gaze hardened. "Now they'll see what defiance looks like." Scene 3, the Concorde reacts. Far across the stars, in the vast golden halls of Station Harmony Prime, The surviving alien commanders stood before Primus Tal. The air shimmered with tension. Commander Quinn, his heavy armor scorched, knelt with trembling limbs. "They attacked first," he said. "Without warning." Tal's eyes narrowed. "You crossed into their territory armed. You call that peacekeeping?" Quinn hesitated. "It was meant to be a demonstration of authority." Tal slammed his hand down on the table. The sound echoed like thunder. "And now the entire galaxy sees a Concord fleet running from a single human colony. You have shamed us." The chamber went still. None dared speak. Finally Tal straightened. His voice was calm again but colder. "They think one small victory makes them equal to us. We will show them the truth. Assemble the Concord Grand Armada. Every sector fleet. Every ship." A murmur of disbelief spread through the room. "All of them, Primus?" one aide asked nervously. "All of them," Tal repeated. "If Earth wants war, we will bring them the fire of 1,000 suns." He looked at Quinn, whose head was still bowed. "And you, Commander? You will lead the first wave. You will erase that colony from existence." Quinn swallowed. "As you command." Scene 4, the calm before the storm. Back in human space, tension spread like wildfire. Every colony, every station, every ship, preparing, waiting. At a shipyard orbiting Mars, engineers worked day and night. Sparks flew as they welded armor plates to warships. Soldiers trained in the corridors practicing boarding drills. The sound of footsteps and shouting filled the air. In a quiet observation room, Claire Hoffman stood alone, watching the planet turn below. She hadn't slept in 2 days. The message from the council still echoed in her mind. "You will be placed under protection." She whispered to herself, "Protection," they said. "You invade us and call it kindness." Her reflection in the glass looked tired, but her eyes burned with steady fire. "You'll find out how kind Deathworlders can be." The door opened behind her. Admiral Reyes entered, holding a datapad. "We've received intelligence. The Concord's preparing their full fleet. Hundreds of ships." "How long?" Claire asked. 3 weeks, Reyes replied. "Maybe less." Claire nodded slowly. "Then we have 3 weeks to remind humanity who we are." Scene 5, the second encounter. 3 weeks later. Deep space. Near the Kepler frontier, a mining colony at the edge of human territory. The stars glittered peacefully when the alarm started screaming. Dozens of Concord ships appeared out of warp, massive, gleaming, unstoppable. Their formation stretched across the void like a wall of death. The colony's defense station sent a desperate transmission. "This is Kepler Command to Earth. We are under attack. Repeat, we are." The message cut out in static. Moments later, the alien fleet began firing. Explosions lit the colony's atmosphere. Firestorms consumed entire cities. But this time humanity had a plan. From behind Kepler's third moon, a formation of stealth cruisers emerged, black ships invisible to sensors. They fired at point-blank range, missiles striking command ships and fuel cores. The Concord fleet reeled in shock. Captain Kova's voice came through the comms. "You wanted another lesson? Here it is." The aliens returned fire, but human ships scattered, using gravity wells and asteroids to hide. The battle turned chaotic, brutal and close. For every human ship destroyed, 2 alien cruisers burned. When the smoke cleared, Kepler was scarred but alive. The Concorde had lost again. Scene 6, reactions across the galaxy. News spread faster than light. Across neutral systems, species whispered in disbelief. The humans, the so-called Deathworlders, had now defeated the Concorde twice. On alien holonets, the question spread like wildfire: how are they doing this? Some called it luck. Others called it madness. But a few began to wonder, maybe the Deathworlders were not monsters. Maybe they were survivors just like everyone else, only stronger. Scene 7, final suspense moment. At the Concorde Council, Primus Tal watched the reports with eyes that no longer hid his rage. "They are winning battles they shouldn't even survive," said one of his generals. "If this continues..." "Silence," Tal snapped. He turned toward the giant holographic map showing Earth glowing at the center. "We will not be humiliated again." He placed one clawed finger on the planet's image. "Forget the colonies. Forget their fleets. Go for their heart." His voice turned into a cold whisper. "Prepare the Armada of Judgment. We are going to Earth." Final cinematic ending cue. Cut to black. A low rumbling sound echoes like distant thunder. One by one, the lights of hundreds of alien warships ignite in the darkness of space. Claire's voice returns in a quiet narration. They thought the first battle would break us. But it only woke something they should have left sleeping. The Deathworlders are done being silent. Silence filled the war room deep inside Earth's Defense Command. Every leader, every general, every officer sat frozen as the transmission from Station Harmony ended. The vote was final. The Galactic Concord had declared control over human colonies. Ambassador Claire Hoffman stood in front of the holoscreen, her face pale but her eyes steady. Behind her, the holographic image of Primus Tal faded away, leaving only static. General Ortega, tall and broad-shouldered, spoke first. So, they finally did it. His voice was low but full of anger. They're coming for our colonies. Claire nodded. Yes. And if we resist, they'll use force. Around the table, silence again. No one wanted to be the first to say it, that the galaxy's most powerful alliance had just declared war in all but name. President Amina Rios leaned forward. How long before their fleets arrive? 30 days, Claire said. That's what Tal promised. 30 days to hand over every human colony. The president's expression hardened. Then we have 30 days to prepare. On the far edge of human space in the colony of Arcadia 4, life was peaceful, until the sky burned. The first Concord fleet arrived 2 weeks early. The alien ships were massive, silver and black, covered in glowing runes that pulsed like veins. They didn't speak. They didn't send warnings. They simply appeared. Captain Daniel Reeves of the Arcadian Defense Force watched from his command post. Are they hailing us? He asked. Lieutenant Mira shook her head, eyes wide. No signal, sir. Nothing. Then, one by one, the human defense satellites exploded. Shields up. Daniel shouted. Get the civilians underground. The alien ships opened fire, blue plasma tearing through the colony's outer defenses. Explosions turned the night into blinding daylight. But the humans fought back. Small defense ships launched from the surface, weaving through the enemy fire. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but they refused to surrender. Daniel's ship, the Resolute, took heavy hits. The hull burned, systems failed, alarms screamed. But Daniel stayed at his post. Target their engines. Make them bleed. Mira hesitated. Sir, we can't win. Then we'll make them remember who we are, Daniel said quietly. We're from Earth. We don't break. Back on Earth, the images arrived. Burning cities on Arcadia 4, destroyed fleets, silence from the colonies. President Rios stood before the United Government. They crossed the line, she said. They call us Deathworlders because our world is harsh. Because we learned to survive everything, storms, beasts, disasters. But now the galaxy will learn what that truly means. The chamber erupted in support. Humanity had been humiliated for years, mocked, restricted, and watched like dangerous animals. But now their anger had turned into something powerful, unity. Within days, old nations erased their borders. Every shipyard began building warships. Every engineer worked day and night. Even the civilians volunteered. The media called it the Deathworlder Uprising. On Station Harmony, Primus Tal watched the human broadcasts with amusement. They really think they can fight us? He said to High Commander Quinn. Quinn grunted. They are stubborn creatures. Dangerous in small numbers, perhaps. But against the Concord? They will burn. Tal smiled. Let them struggle. The harder they fight, the more proof we have that they are what we always said, violent, primitive, unfit for peace. But in the corner of the chamber, Subrimus Lurik, the young Rathani delegate who had doubted the vote, looked uneasy. What if we're wrong? He whispered to himself. What if they win? Tal overheard and laughed. Win? Against 1,000 fleets? Lurik didn't answer. He had seen the look in Claire Hoffman's eyes before she left the council. That wasn't anger. That was a promise. Days later, deep in space, a small fleet of human ships appeared near the border of Concord territory. They didn't send a message. They didn't wait. They attacked. 3 alien outposts fell within hours. The humans moved fast, using tactics the aliens had never seen before, fighting like predators, not soldiers. The galactic news networks called it madness. But across human space it was hope. The Deathworlders had gone to war. And for the first time in centuries the galaxy felt fear. End with suspense cue. Camera pans to space. Hundreds of human warships launching from orbit, engines glowing red. Claire Hoffman's voice echoes softly. They wanted to cage us. Instead, they woke the beasts of Earth. Fade to black. The blackness of space glowed red as the first human fleet moved into position. It wasn't large, only 50 ships, but every one of them carried the determination of a species pushed too far. At the front of the formation was the HES Valor, flagship of Admiral Kane Rourke. His voice was calm, steady, but beneath it was cold fury. "This is for Arcadia," he said over the comms. "For every colony they burned. Let's show them what Deathworlders do when cornered." The fleet accelerated, engines blazing like meteors. Ahead of them floated the alien supply station Karath Prime, guarded by several Concorde destroyers. The Rathani commander on the station received the alert too late. "Unidentified vessels approaching fast," an aide shouted. "Identify them," the commander demanded. The screen zoomed in, revealing human ships, their hulls marked with the symbol of Earth. "Humans," the aide whispered. "They're not supposed to be here." Seconds later, missiles struck. The first wave ripped through the station's shields, the second wave tore open its structure. The humans moved like ghosts, their ships weaving between alien defenses, hitting weak points the Concorde thought were hidden. Admiral Rourke's strategy was brutal but brilliant. Instead of defending their worlds, he attacked their supply lines, forcing the aliens to scatter. "Keep moving," he ordered. "Don't let them regroup. Make them chase us." News of the attack spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the council chambers, Primus Tal watched the reports with disbelief. "They hit Karath Prime? That's impossible." High Commander Quinn slammed a fist onto the table. "Those savages just declared total war." Counselor Bren, one of the few sympathetic to humanity, looked troubled. "You should have listened to Hoffman. They warned us." Tal glared at him. "You speak as if you admire them." "I respect them," Bren said softly. "No one survives a death world without learning to fight back." Tal dismissed him with a sneer. "Then they will die like the beasts they are." But even as he spoke, reports kept coming in. More Concorde outposts destroyed, patrol fleets missing, communication relays down. Humanity wasn't just defending. They were hunting. On Earth, Ambassador Claire Hoffman stood before the Defense Council. She wore a simple uniform now, no longer a diplomat but a voice of resistance. "Admiral Rourke's raids are working," said General Ortega. "They're confused. They've never fought anyone like us." Claire nodded. "Because they think war is about numbers. For us it's survival. Every human alive knows how to fight to live. That's what they never understood." President Rios leaned forward. "We can't hold forever. We need allies." Claire hesitated. "There might be some who will help us, if they dare." Sobrimus Lurik of the Rathani, Counselor Bren of the Tathi. "I think they're questioning the Concorde's decision." "Then reach out," the president said. "We'll take any ally we can get." Claire's eyes hardened. "And if none come, we'll still fight." Far away in the shadows of an asteroid field, the Valor fleet waited. Their next target, a Concorde armory ship carrying advanced plasma cannons. Lieutenant Mira, now serving under Admiral Rourke, watched the sensor display. "Sir, enemy fleet approaching, 8 ships." "Perfect," Rourke said. "They think we'll run." Instead, the humans turned toward the enemy. "Fire all torpedoes." Space lit up with streaks of red and white. The first Concorde cruiser went down in flames, torn apart by kinetic rounds. The others panicked, trying to regroup, but the humans moved too fast, switching formations, targeting engines, disabling weapons. The Valor itself took hits. The hull burned, alarms blared, but no one retreated. Mira shouted over the noise, "Shields failing." Rourke grinned. "Then we fight bare-skinned." They rammed the nearest alien destroyer head-on. The impact shook the fleet. 2 ships exploded together in a storm of fire. Silence followed. Then cheers filled the comms. They had won again. In the quiet after battle, Rourke looked out at the stars. "They'll come back stronger," he said. "They always do." Mira nodded. "Then we'll hit harder." Rourke smiled faintly. "They call us Deathworlders like it's an insult. But I think they're starting to understand what it really means." Back in the council chambers, panic began to grow. Reports piled in. Dozens of Concorde fleets destroyed, supply lines gone, morale breaking. High Commander Quinn slammed the table again. "How can a single species cause this much damage?" Counselor Bren looked at him calmly. "Because they've been fighting to survive since the day they evolved. Every breath on their world is a battle. You're not fighting soldiers, Commander. You're fighting survivors." Primus Tal's voice dropped low. "Then we will crush them. All of them." But even he could feel it now, fear. Because somewhere out there in the dark, the Deathworlders were coming. Suspense Q, end of part 5. The scene fades to a distant shot of hundreds of human warships hidden behind the rings of Saturn, engines glowing faintly red. Claire Hoffman's voice echoes. They wanted peace on their terms. We'll give them peace after the war. Fade to black. The war had changed everything. The stars that once shimmered peacefully across the void were now burning with wrecked ships and dying empires. For months, the Concord fleet tried to crush humanity, but every time the Deathworlders struck back harder. From the orbit of Mars to the frozen moons of Tau Ceti, humanity fought like fire spreading through dry leaves. They had fewer ships, fewer weapons, but their will was iron. And now it was time to end it. Ambassador Claire Hoffman stood in the command center of the HES Valor, beside Admiral Kane Rourke. The once diplomat had become a strategist, and her calm voice carried the weight of billions. The Concorde has lost 3 sectors, she said quietly. Their fleets are scattered. But Tal still commands the central defense. If we take Harmony Station, we break them. Rourke nodded. Then Harmony Station it is. A silence settled in the room. The same station where Claire once pleaded for peace, now their final battlefield. Outside the viewport, the largest human fleet ever assembled waited. Over 200 ships, forged, rebuilt, stolen, or salvaged, ready to face the might of the Concorde. This is where we prove them wrong, Rourke said. All channels open broadcast. Across human space, the message echoed through every ship, every colony, every hidden outpost. Rourke's voice was steady and fierce. They called us savages. They called us Deathworlders. But they forgot what that means. We are not born to conquer. We are born to survive. And no empire can cage a species that learned to live on a world that tried to kill it every day. Today, we fight not for revenge but for our right to exist. Cheers filled the comms. Across the fleet, engineers hugged each other, pilots tightened their gloves, and soldiers whispered silent prayers. The Valor led the charge. At Harmony Station, alarms screamed as thousands of ships emerged from hyperspace. The Concorde defense grid activated, hundreds of alien warships, drones, and platforms surrounding the station like a steel web. Primus Tal watched from the command bridge, his hands trembling. So, they came to die. Counselor Bren stood beside him, expression grim. No, Primus. They came to live free. Tal sneered. You pity them? I respect them, Bren replied. And you should fear them. The first volley hit. Human kinetic rounds slammed into the shields like thunder. The Concorde fired back. Beams of plasma, torpedoes of light, turning space into chaos. But the humans didn't retreat. They moved through the storm, shields glowing, hulls burning, relentless. Admiral Rourke shouted, "Target their command ships. Take out their coordination." Lieutenant Mira responded, "Roger that." The Valor dove between 2 cruisers, firing railguns point blank. One alien ship exploded. The other was torn apart by internal blasts. Every time a human ship fell, another took its place. On the bridge of Harmony Station, Tal's comm began to crack. Why won't they break? Bren looked at the main screen, human ships still advancing despite losses. Because they've been breaking for centuries, he said softly. And they learned how to rebuild every time. Moments later, the human fleet breached the inner defense ring. Dropships launched toward the station, fire streaking across the sky. Claire Hoffman was on the lead transport. As the dropship shook under enemy fire, she gripped her harness tightly. 30 years ago they mocked us, she whispered. Let's see if they still laugh now. The dropships crashed into the station hangars. Marines stormed out, firing rifles that glowed in the dark halls. The battle for Harmony Station had begun. Inside the council chamber, the same one from years before, Claire walked through smoke and debris. The massive holographic table flickered, showing half-broken star maps. Primus Tal stood at the far end, holding a plasma pistol. Ambassador Hoffman, he said coldly. You don't belong here anymore. She stopped. Neither do you. He raised his weapon, but Bren stepped between them. Enough, Tal. It's over. Traitor. Tal shouted and fired. Bren fell. Claire didn't hesitate. She aimed and fired once. The blast hit Tal's shoulder, sending him crashing to the floor. Claire walked closer. You called us Deathworlders. You wanted us under your protection. Tell me, Primus, do we look like we need it now? Tal glared up at her, eyes filled with hate and disbelief. You can't win. The Concorde will never kneel. Claire leaned close. Then they'll fall standing. Hours later the battle ended. Harmony Station burned, but it was over. Across the galaxy transmission signals lit up. Concorde command structure destroyed. Human victory confirmed. On Earth, crowds filled the streets, cheering, crying, embracing each other. The long war had cost millions of lives, but they were free. Admiral Rourke watched the smoking wreck of Harmony Station from orbit. "It's done," he said quietly. "We're finally free." Claire stood beside him looking out at the stars. "Freedom always comes with a price," she said. "But for the first time, it's ours to pay." Final scene, cinematic outro. As the camera pans across space, wrecked ships drift silently among the stars. The Earth glows far away, blue and alive. Claire's voice echoes softly. "They called us Deathworlders. They were right. But they never understood what that truly meant. We don't live to destroy. We live to endure. To rebuild. To rise again." The screen fades to black. Suspense cue. A faint, coded signal appears on the edge of the screen, an unknown alien language translating slowly. "They are coming for us next." Fade out. Title: HFY, The Deathworlders War, The Day the Galaxy Remembered Humanity.